There's this specific kind of headline that I think we've all just become completely numb to over the last 12 months or
Oh
so.
yeah, the doom and gloom ones.
Exactly. You open your feed, you check the news, and it is just staring at you in these bold, terrifying letters.
Yeah,
It's usually something like the end of work or robots are coming for your paycheck.
it really has become, I mean, it's like the background radiation of the modern career. It's just that low-level hum of anxiety that never quite goes away.
Right. And it honestly doesn't matter who you are. You could be a freshman in college trying to pick a major, or, you could be a graphic designer with 20 years of experience. The
Yeah.
narrative is always exactly the same. AI is taking our
It's
jobs.
the monster under the bed.
It's a monster under the bed for pretty much everyone right now.
And honestly, it's a very effective monster because, well, because it feels so plausible. We see the tools every day. We see them writing code, generating images, summarizing massive documents in seconds. It is not a hard mental leap to go from, wow, that software is really fast, to, oh no, I am completely obsolete.
Right. It feels incredibly personal. So naturally, we had to do a deep dive on this, but we didn't want to just look at another tech review or a feature list of some new app. We wanted to look at the psychology of this shift.
Which is so much more important.
Exactly. So today we are unpacking a really fascinating transcript. It's from day 3 of the 30-day AI series.
Which is a great source for this. It features a conversation between a host, Delson, and a guest named Dara. And what I love about it is that it really strips away the hype and gets right down to the human element.
It does. And I have to say, reading through the source material, I felt a mix of relief and honestly a little bit of a wake-up call. Because the main argument here is bold.
Very bold.
It's a massive reframe of the entire situation. The
Hmm.
source claims that AI isn't actually taking your job.
Which sounds completely counterintuitive given literally everything we just said about the headline.
I know, but the claim is that AI is just retiring your current skill set.
And that distinction is everything. It sounds like semantics at first, right? Like, it's not taking my job, just my skills. But if you actually unpack what Delson and Dara are discussing in the source, it changes how you look at your entire career.
Yeah.
It is the difference between being fired and being promoted if you handle it right.
So let's get into the specifics of that. In the source, Delson asks Dara point blank, he says, is AI really taking jobs? And Dara doesn't hedge at all. She doesn't give a politician's answer. She just says no.
Flat out no. But then she follows it up with this critical nuance. She says, it's exposing outdated skill sets.
Okay, so play devil's advocate for a second here. If my skill set is outdated and my job relies entirely on that skill set, isn't that just a polite corporate way of saying I'm done for?
In the short term,
Yeah.
yeah, it feels exactly that way. But the source digs into history to prove this point. This isn't the first time we've panicked about machines. The source explicitly mentions the Industrial Revolution.
The classic example.
It is classic for a reason. When factories started automating production, there was absolute panic. People thought, this is it. The machine makes the chair, so humans are done making chairs. Work is literally over.
Right.
But work wasn't destroyed. The type of work changed.
You stopped being the person hand carving the leg of the chair for 3 days, and you became the person managing the assembly line that made 100 chairs.
Exactly. Or look at the internet. The source mentions how brick-and-mortar businesses were terrified. They thought commerce was dead because of e-commerce. You know, the whole nobody will ever need a salesperson again. Panic.
And to be fair, for some businesses, it was the apocalypse. Blockbuster didn't survive the shift.
True, specific companies died. But commerce didn't die. It just shifted. Retail jobs changed from stocking shelves to managing logistics or digital marketing. And then you look at social media. It completely changed marketing. The source's core argument is that technology never actually destroys the concept of work. It just destroys specific ways of working.
So the argument is that we are just in the middle of that really messy transition phase right now.
We are. But this time, and this is the critical difference the source points out, it's not changing how we move physical objects, like the steam engine or the factory did. It is changing how we produce value with our minds.
That phrase from the text really stuck with me, how we produce value, because I think a lot of us assume our value is I know stuff or I can do this tedious thing.
Right. I can memorize the tax code or I can write a basic press release. The source argues that if your value comes from a skill that can be easily automated, like basic coding, copywriting, data entry, the market value of that skill is dropping to near zero.
It's totally deflationary.
Completely. If an AI can do it for a fraction of a cent in 3 seconds, you cannot charge $50 an hour for it. The math just doesn't work anymore.
Which is terrifying if that is the only thing you know how to do. If you've built your whole professional identity on being the fastest typist or the best spell checker.
Right. It is terrifying. But the flip side, according to Dara in the source, is that if you can use AI to amplify your thinking, your value doesn't just stay the same, it skyrockets. Because now you aren't limited by your own hands or your own typing speed or your own memory.
So it's not replacement, it's evolution.
Correct. But evolution is uncomfortable. It requires shedding the old skin. And that brings us to what I think is the most challenging part of this deep dive. The source identifies a value trap that most of us are deeply stuck in.
Oh, this hit home for me. This is about the equation we all grew up with.
The effort equation.
Yeah, we are taught this from kindergarten. Work hard. We honestly believe that effort equals value. If I spend 10 hours on a report, if I stay late at the office, if I ignore my family to get it done, that report is valuable because I suffered to make it.
Right. We attach our self-worth to the struggle. We think, I worked hard, therefore I deserve a reward. It is deeply ingrained in our culture. But the source makes a brutal point here. The market doesn't care about your effort.
It sounds so cold when you say it out loud.
It is cold. But it's true. The market cares about the result. Dara breaks down the old belief versus the new reality. The old belief is effort equals value. But the new reality is output plus results plus speed equals value.
Output, results, and speed.
Yes. And AI increases all three of those variables exponentially. So if you are still operating on the I get paid for my time and effort model, you are in serious trouble.
The source actually lists some specific roles that are walking right into this trap. Content creators, graphic designers, marketers, virtual assistants, even students.
Let's look at why those roles are vulnerable. The source describes a scenario of a traditional worker competing against an AI-enabled worker.
Okay, paint the picture for us. Let's take the graphic designer.
So you have a traditional graphic designer, they get a brief, they brainstorm for a day, they sketch ideas, they do a draft, they edit, they polish. It takes them 3 days to get the client a solid mock-up, and they feel good about it because they put their soul into it. They earned it.
And the AI-enabled designer.
According to the source, this person isn't sketching, they are prompting. They produce 10x content, they generate 50 variations in an hour, they pick the best 3, refine them with another tool, and have the final polish done by lunch.
And here is the kicker from the source. When a client or an employer looks at those two options,
They choose efficiency.
they don't choose sentiment. They don't look at it and say, ah, but Tim worked so hard on that draft. They say, this other person got me 10 drafts in an hour and they're all really good.
It's a harsh reality check.
Huh.
We want to be rewarded for our sweat equity, but the source is telling us that in the age of AI, sweat is not a currency.
So if we accept that, if we swallow that bitter pill, what do we actually do? Because I don't want to just be efficient. I want to be valuable. I don't want to just be a button pusher who produces junk faster.
This is where we pivot to the solution, and I love the term the source uses here. It's not about memorization anymore. It's about orchestration.
Orchestration. That sounds fancy, but what does it actually mean in practice?
Think of a conductor in front of an orchestra. The conductor doesn't play the violin. They don't blow into the tuba. They might not even be able to play those instruments as well as the people sitting in the chairs. But they understand how all those instruments work together to create a symphony.
Okay, so they see the big picture.
Exactly. The source argues that your new skill set is knowing how to guide the tool. It breaks it down into the 3 pillars: critical thinking, creativity, and orchestration. That last one is the most critical concept.
So instead of being the person who writes the email, you're the person who knows exactly what the email needs to achieve, tells the AI to draft it, refines the tone, and sends it.
You are managing the process. The questions you ask yourself change completely. It's no longer how do I write this? It becomes, can I guide the AI? Can I refine its output? Can I combine tools strategically?
There's a quote in the source that I highlighted. It says, "The winner isn't the smartest person in the room anymore. It's the person who knows how to use the smartest tools."
That is a fundamental shift in hierarchy. Think about it. For decades, the smartest person was the one who had the most facts memorized, the walking encyclopedia.
Right, the person who could cite the case law or the specific engineering formula off the top of their head, the trivia champion of the office.
But now, the AI has all the facts. It has all the formulas. It has read every book ever published. So the value shifts away from having the answers to being the person who knows which question to ask.
It is actually surprisingly liberating. I mean, it sounds scary at first, but it also sounds like it clears the deck of a lot of busy work.
That is explicitly what the source suggests. It says AI removes low-leverage tasks,
Low leverage meaning the boring stuff.
the repetitive stuff.
Hmm.
Data entry, basic drafting, scheduling. And by removing that, it frees humans up to focus on the things a machine cannot fully replicate.
And the source lists these out. Strategy, emotion, storytelling, decision-making.
Those are the human-only domains. An AI can write a story, but it doesn't feel the story. It can analyze data, but it can't understand the emotional nuance of why that data matters to a specific client. It doesn't have empathy.
So if I'm hearing this right, the source is saying, stop trying to be a better robot than the robot. Be
Yeah.
more human.
Precisely. Double down on the things that are uniquely human. But, and this is the big catch, you have to do that while holding the robot's hand.
Right. You can't just go live in a cabin in the woods and be human. You have to collaborate.
That's the collaboration strategy. The mental shift the source advises is that you have to stop competing with AI. You won't win. You have to start collaborating with it. And it uses an analogy that I think is just brilliant. It says, to think of AI as hiring a super assistant that works 24/7.
I really love this analogy because we've all had those days where we wish we could clone ourselves.
Well, now you essentially can. The source poses a stark choice for the listener. If you ignore AI, you are working alone. You are a team of one. But if you use AI, you are working with a team.
And the team always scales faster.
Exactly. The conclusion there is undeniable. You cannot outwork a 24/7 super assistant. You just can't.
So how do we actually build this team? Because the source talks about something called a skill stack.
Yes, this is the roadmap for anyone listening who is asking, okay, so what do I actually learn? The answer isn't just to go out and learn AI in a vacuum. It's to learn AI plus something else. It's the combination.
Building a stack. So if you are in marketing, you don't stop doing marketing, you build a stack. Marketing plus AI.
Right. Or creativity plus AI, education plus AI. The source argues that this combination is the path to being unstoppable. Because you still have the domain expertise, the deep human knowledge of your field, but now you have the lever of AI to execute it at 10x speed.
It's like giving a master carpenter a power drill instead of a handsaw. They still need to know how to build the cabinet, but now they can build 10 of them in the time it took to build one.
That is the perfect way to look at it, and the barrier to entry for this is shockingly low.
That was a very reassuring part for me, because I think a lot of people hear the word AI and they immediately think coding. They think they need a computer science degree to survive.
The source is very clear on addressing this fear of being behind. No tech degree is required. No coding is required.
Because the interface is just language. If you can talk, you can use these tools.
It is entirely about strategy. It's just knowing what you want the tool to do. However, there is a distinct warning in the source that we shouldn't ignore.
The urgency factor.
Yes. Delson asks Dara what she would say to someone feeling behind, and she says, you aren't behind yet.
Keyword being yet.
Right. She notes that every month you wait, the learning curve gets steeper.
That makes total sense. The tools are updating so fast. If you start now, you're learning the basics. If you wait a year, you're trying to catch up on a year's worth of exponential growth.
And the competition is getting stronger alongside those tools. The people who did start today will be light years ahead in 6 months. They will have their orchestration workflows completely down pat.
So the big takeaway is, don't panic, but start.
Start right now. Don't let the fear of replacement paralyze you. Use that energy to fuel the evolution of your skills.
You know, what I love about this whole perspective from the source is that it moves us from a place of helplessness to a place of agency. The headline, AI is taking your jobs, makes you feel like a victim. But AI is retiring your outdated skills, puts the ball completely back in your court.
It absolutely does. It invites you to upgrade. And frankly, a lot of the skills we are retiring, the rote memorization, the repetitive data entry, were skills we didn't really enjoy anyway.
That is such a great point. We are holding on to the drudgery just because it's familiar.
Exactly. We need to let it go.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We started with the fear, the pervasive idea that the robots are coming for our paychecks. We debunked that with the source's argument that it's actually about skill evolution, not job replacement.
We looked at the value trap, how the market has fundamentally shifted from rewarding raw effort to rewarding output, results, and speed.
We talked about the solution, becoming an orchestrator rather than just a worker, using the skill stack to combine your human expertise with the AI's power.
And finally, the urgency. The best time to start was yesterday, but the second best time is today.
It's a lot to process, but I think it's a much healthier way to look at the future than just doom scrolling through those headlines.
Absolutely. It turns the future into a tool you can use
Yeah.
rather than a wave that's just going to drown you.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought. We talked a lot about orchestration today, about guiding the machine, the conductor analogy.
Right.
So here's a question for you to mull over as you go about your next task. If your value is no longer defined by how much work you do with your own hands or your own brain power, but by how well you direct the machine, are you prepared to stop being the worker and start being the manager of your own career output?
That is a profound shift. We're essentially all moving into management, whether we like it or not.
We are managing our own digital staff. It's a whole new world.
It certainly is.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Hopefully, you're looking at your next task a little differently, maybe wondering if there's a way to orchestrate it instead of just grinding through it. Catch you on the next deep dive.